economy. Our world is quickly globalizing, and while there is often an instinct to keep things homemade, by developing comprehensive and effective immigration policies, Canada has been able to continue building a flexible, motivated, and skilled workforce. There is no question that there have been bumps in the road and that learning process is far from over. But in large, immigration has been a source of prosperity for a country that will likely need more immigrants if it is going to continue on its track record of economic success. According to Statistics Canada, as of 2011, Canada had a foreign-born population of 6.7 million. That represented over 20% of its total population. It is therefore not hard to imagine what cutting immigration could mean to the Canadian economy. Immigrants have and continue to be a source of prosperity for several reasons. First, taking into consideration a birth rate that is bound to see Canada's population slowly decrease. One can see the importance of immigration in maintaining a strong Canadian workforce. There is also a case to be made for immigration as a way to counteract the effects of a rapidly aging population. Projections made by Statistics Canada show that Canada's senior population doubling by 2036, which means higher demands for health and social services and less people to pay for them. While Canada's immigration policies have often been criticized, for not taking into account regional differences in the demand for labor, new policies have began to address the need of attracting young, educated, and skilled workers to the right regions in the country. As of 2006, the proportion of individuals with a university bachelor's degree was higher among Canadian immigrants than Canadian workers. And the median age for newcomers for 2011 was 31.7, while that of the workers at the median age, the workers in the Canadian core population was 37.1, showing Canada's increased focus on bringing in young talent. While some see immigrants as a threat to Canadian foreign workers, though the design of effective immigration as a threat to Canadian foreign workers, through the design of effective immigration controls, Canada has been able to ensure the newcomers are skilled in areas of high demand where Canada's local workforce is unable to meet demands. Like Canadian-born citizens, immigrants pay personal, business, and sales tax when considering that a large chunk of Canadian population will soon be entering retirement. We can see the positive impacts of immigrants can play in counteracting falling government tax revenues. And although Canada's immigration policies will need to continue adjustment if they are going to remain effective in today's ever-changing global economy, it is only through this continued development that Canada will be able to take advantage of one of its strongest assets, its immigrants.
What was your name again, sir?
Andrew Thompson.
I'm Zaid, and immigration to Canada is
Sorry, what was your name?
Zaid, Z-A-I-D.
Oh, Zaid, okay.
Immigration to Canada is costing Canadian taxpayers and the government billions of dollars, and the total costs are outweighing the benefits that are brought into the economy,
What's the cost?
billions of dollars.
Billion. How many?
Don't have an exact,
So how do you know it's a billion?
because I'll be talking later on about the
So
fiscal burden.
what's your reference to it's costing a billion?
There's a study by Fraser Institute, by Herbert Grubel and Peter Grady.
Okay. And what do you mean by it's costing the government a billion?
Well, in terms of when they build more infrastructure, more hospitals, more schools, when their immigrants use welfare programs.
Okay. So it's not a net cost?
Immigration to Canada is too high and should be lowered, also accompanied by a more selective application process. Firstly, the cost of higher population. 59% of immigrants come into the three major cities, Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. And so we see that they're very clustered in these three areas. That brings more traffic congestion in cities, there's more strain on hospitals and schools, so there's less hospital beds per capita. A study by Fraser Institute said that there was a $20 billion fiscal burden on Canadians in the year 2005 and 2006. because immigrants tend to be in a lower tax bracket, so they pay less taxes than other people may. So
What
that,
percentage is in the lower tax bracket?
don't have that.
So how can you make the statement they tend to be in the lower tax bracket? Okay, go ahead.
So then they use welfare programs and such, so the government has to fund those. Another thing is the loss of potential benefits. There's a lot of remittance that happens in Canada, which is immigrants sending money back to their country of origin to help families with
I
living
read your
expenses.
paper and there's a lot of emphasis on that. How much is remitted in dollars?
The average is $14.50 a year, 30%.
Sorry, how much?
$14.50 per immigrant per year.
14.
$1,450 per immigrant
So
per
they're
year.
sending $1,500 out of the country.
Yeah, and that's 30%.
Per immigrant.
Yeah,
And how many immigrants have it?
6. Like it's the total foreign-born population. So as Andy said, 6.7 million.
So say this again, how many immigrants are we talking about?
We're talking about total foreign-born immigrants. So 6 million, sorry.
Well,
And that-
why do you
but-
have to say, what's a foreign-born immigrant? Isn't,
Well, someone who comes from outside of Canada and moves and becomes a permanent
well, that's the
resident.
definition of an immigrant.
Yes.
So you don't have to say foreign-born.
Okay, sorry.
So there's 6 billion immigrants.
6 million.
6 million
Currently
total
living in Canada.
currently living in Canada. And on average, each one of those is sending $1,500.
Yes, but as you would see, that remittances decrease the longer you stay in Canada. Because you bring your family in or it just, yeah. The general trend is when you move here, you send more remittance, and then as you live here longer, you decrease the amount of remittance you send out.
Okay. So that's 1,500 times 6 million. I can't do the math.
But,
That sounds
of
like a lot
course,
money.
Yeah,
6 million times 1,000 is 6 billion, isn't
yeah, but you wouldn't assume that all 6 million are sending 1,000. You'd assume.
it? Well, that's what I'm asking. You said on average it was 1,500 times 6 million. So that's $6.5 billion remitted each year. I find that quite questionable.
Global remittance is up to 500 billion per year, like going around the world from every country.
Okay,
So it's a big number.
But what is your argument? Your argument is that there's 6 million immigrants sending back a lot of money each year.
Yes.
And I'm just trying to get a handle on how much that is. And what's the answer to
1,500 per capita, so 1,500 per immigrant.
1,500 times 6 million,
Yeah.
which is 6.5 billion, isn't it?
We don't have a total figure. I would,
6.7 times that, it's roughly 10 billion.
10 billion
Yes.
a year.
I don't have the total figure, so.
Well, it's your argument.
Well, the idea is that the remittance is sent back to help usually families with the cost of living. But according to Statistics Canada in 2011, they said the remittance also is aimed to help build parks, libraries, and charities back home. So that's also a loss of benefit that they're not investing in Canada, but they're rather investing in their country of origins. Also, there's a study by Statistics Canada saying that home ownership is negatively correlated to remittance, because usually owning a home would mean they have a lot more expenses. Thirdly, we have immigrants themselves aren't necessarily successful. There's a notable amount of unemployment of immigrants. Unemployment for newly landed immigrants is at least twice as high as Canadians. For the age group 24 to 54, it's about 55%, and these of them have bachelor's degrees. And the reason they might find it difficult is because they're not native English speakers, or sometimes their foreign degrees aren't accredited in Canada. So they find it hard to find jobs, so the government is funding money to help them with programs, but it's not necessarily helping them out since there's still a high level of unemployment. So the fiscal burden on Canada's economy is large due to the amount of immigrants, which is overall hurting Canada rather than help it. So therefore, we stand to argue to lower immigration into Canada and tighten the selection process.
Okay, so why is allowing 1% of the population in each year, 1% of 35 million. So I think our upper limit on immigration is 350,000 a year. We currently have 250,000 a year. Could you summarize why that's bad for Canada?
Well, a lot of people are coming in and they're not thinking of going in for the long run. They're just going maybe to become citizens. So they're, like I said, they're not investing in staying here. So
What
that's not,
percentage of the 250,000 a year think that? See, what I'm trying to do is get around or get past the perceptions and get to the facts. So there were a lot of perceptions in your proposal. What are the facts?
so sorry, what was your question again?
My question is, what's the negative effect of allowing 250,000 people in a year?
Well, they're not necessarily keeping the money in. They're, even if they, since they're also remitting money, they're not saving the money
Okay,
in.
so that's one
banks.
argument. They send some money back home. What's another argument?
That the cost of a lot of traffic, since they're clustered in the 3 cities, we have to build more hospitals, more roads, more schools, and the immigrants themselves are still not successful because there's still a high unemployment rate for them.
Is there a higher unemployment rate for immigrants than non-immigrants?
Yeah, yes.
What's the figure?
12.4% for recent immigrants, so immigrants that have immigrated within 5 years, it's 12.4%.
The unemployment
And our
rate-
unemployment rate is 7.1%.
Yeah.
It's about 5 points higher. For recently
Now,
landed
when
immigrants.
you say the unemployment rate is 12% for the immigrants, immigrants is a broad category. There's all kinds of immigrants. There's
Yes.
family class, there's
Yeah.
entrepreneur
There's
class,
refugees,
there's refugee class.
Yeah.
So have you broken it down?
Well, the other thing we found is the 55.8% of the economic immigrants coming in have bachelor's degrees, and the unemployment rate's even higher for them than 12%.
So the immigrants that are coming in with bachelor's
Yes,
degrees
have a higher,
say a 15% unemployment rate
Yeah.
versus a local unemployment rate of 7,
yes.
almost twice as much.
Yeah.
Oh, twice as much, average. Okay, thank you, sir. So, I think we're now at the, you presented rebuttal to their argument.
Okay. So one of their main points was that immigration is costing billions of dollars to the Canadian economy. But
What's your
that's
name, sir?
Mugurel,
That's all.
Mugurel.
Right.
Yeah, so like I said, one of their main points was that immigration is costing the Canadian economy billions of dollars, but that is actually not true. Like we stated earlier, because Canada's population is bound to decrease, the government is bound to see losses in tax revenues, and Canada's workforce is also bound to suffer due to the lack of laborers in certain regions of the economic sector. Immigrants coming into the country are a new source of revenue for the Canadian government. They're also willing workers looking to make a better life for themselves in Canada. Unlike the European Union, where migration flows are characterized by migrants who are just looking to save up money and go back to their home country, immigrants who move to Canada typically tend to move here on a permanent basis. Another argument that they've made is that immigrants tend to send money back home, but like I just said, most immigrants who move to Canada move here intending to move permanently. So they look to make a better life for themselves here in Canada. So the money that they send back home is insignificant. The
Well, it's
Canadian
not.
economy.
1,500 times 6.
I believe their point was that that's not for all immigrants. That's like Will said, that it decreases with the amount of time you've been here. So you can't say that the whole figure is about $10 billion. You can say that $1,500 for someone who's just moved here and just recently found employment versus somebody who's been here for 10 years and they've stopped sending $1,500 home. It could be much less than the $10 billion that is stated there.
So what is the figure? How much is being remitted? Why are we speculating. What's the fact? What's the evidence?
We don't have those figures. That was
What I would say is
The only-
30% of the 6 million, so it's around 2 million are immigrants are remitting. 30% are remitting 1,500 on average. So it's 2 million times 1.5.
That's 2 billion.
Yeah. It's still a sizable chunk of money being exported back. Central.
It's not necessarily just to help their families, like I said, some of it is to help build parks and libraries and charities. So why not spend that money to build those things here?
Well, 2 billion is the cost of a bridge now.
Yeah.
We have a GDP of 1.8 trillion, 2 billion relatively speaking, particularly.
Maybe not in Canada, but maybe in their countries of origin, 2 billion is a lot more, can do a lot more there.
No, but we're not worried about them, we're worried about us. It's all about us. Okay? Immigration, our immigration policy isn't a foreign aid policy. I didn't think. Maybe it is, maybe you're arguing it is. Okay. Why don't I just turn to them and hear
Well, I guess
your rebuttal?
one of your main points is that we need to bring in a young, educated, skilled workforce. And my rebuttal to that is the same fact I just said, that 55.8% of the economic class of immigrants coming in have a bachelor's degree. Then why is their unemployment rate higher than 12%? And if we're bringing in immigrants for specific purposes, to fill specific roles, why is their unemployment rate 5% higher